What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Obviously, Pokemon games are no strangers to including the odd gimmick here or there to help entice people into playing. But battle mechanics are not the only things affected by this mindset, because sometimes Pokemon themselves are entirely based around a gimmick. What is a Pokemon gimmick exactly? Well, it's a little more than just having a dragon that's an apple. It's a bit more like having special attributes that no other Pokemon does, whether that just be as simple as a different color of flower, or maybe a defining ability or move. However, just because a Pokemon has a defined gimmick doesn't make it good. Sure, cast form only exists to change with the weather, but with its mediocre stats and the fact that it left out a sandstorm condition means that it's a lot harder to use than it should be. So, let's take a look at the top 6 best gimmick Pokemon. Number 6, Electros. I wasn't sure about even putting this entry on the list, but I think it fits. See, back in Gen 3, they created a Pokemon called Sableye, and given its typing, it wound up having no weaknesses, which was pretty cool, but nobody really seemed to care until Gen 4 when Spiritomb did the same thing, since it was a lot harder to kill. However, I don't think either one of those were intentional, rather just a byproduct of their type combinations that happened to cancel it all out. Plus, they added in Fairy just to fix that, but when you look at Electros, this seems to be the purpose of this Pokemon. This entire line from the Unova region is based on eels, so naturally you would think that would lend to the water type, but no. They were tailor-made to float in the air, given the levitate ability, which negates the ground type, and wouldn't you know it, ground just so happens to be the solitary weakness of electric. And since that is the only line across these 3 Pokemon, it means they technically have no weaknesses. The only Pokemon to do so. Now, let's be real, there's no shortage of ways to get around this. You could use Smackdown or Gravity or something, but one of the only 5 moves that Tynamo even learns is Magnet Rise, so they really wanted to be sure that these eels remained airborne. There might be more powerful electro types out there, but there's a reason Electros keeps showing up in the competitive realm. And aside from the setup moves, the gimmick of giving a random Pokemon no weaknesses makes it stand out from the rest out of necessity. So if you're just starting out, it's not quite invulnerable, but you might want to give Electros a try. Number 5, Mimikyu. There's actually quite a few Pokemon that could be considered to have gimmicks in Alola, but I think Mimikyu is very clearly one of the best because of how well it integrates this gimmick into every aspect of the Pokemon. Mimikyu is a fan favorite because of its intentionally horrifying design, as it plays dress-up to be a Pikachu just so people will like it. And it's a clever idea for sure, making certain that we never truly know what the Pokemon really looks like, just like some other winners out there. However, that's not where the story ends. You see, Mimikyu's gimmick, its signature ability Disguise, is specifically customized to fit with its unique design. The actual disguise that this Pokemon wears was made to be a mechanic in the game, in that it takes a hit without taking damage. Or at least it used to do that. I guess that was considered overpowered, and now you only take 25% of the incoming attack. But then once that happens, the literal disguise on screen breaks, and Mimikyu stays that way for the rest of the battle. That is a brilliant blend of in-battle functionality and in-universe lore, elevating Mimikyu above many other Pokemon gimmicks because it's all connected. The gimmick of Mimikyu can be appreciated by all, whether you love it for the free focus sash in battle, or you love it for its heartbreaking backstory and needing the disguise in the first place. No matter how you choose to play Pokemon, Mimikyu has a gimmick that will work for you. Number 4, Sudowoodo. This might sound weird to say, but I think Sudowoodo does the same thing as Mimikyu, only better. Now, let me explain. It doesn't quite have the same impressive battle prowess, but Sudowoodo's gimmick does span multiple areas of the game to make it multifaceted. See, Sudowoodo is a tree, but it's not. That may sound simple enough, but it actually gives this petrified sapling a lot to play with. Firstly, there's the lore implications that have plagued children for decades now, causing confusion as to why it's not a grass type and what it's actually made of. But that gimmick not only makes it a fun novelty, but it's above the last one for me because it extends even to the overworld. In Johto, you are stuck behind a wobbly tree until you spray some water on it. Now that should have been our first clue as to what it's actually made of, but most kids probably used moves that they would to take out any other grass type. So the fact that Sudowoodo is the polar opposite means the gimmick tricks you into using ineffective tactics. So this gimmick comes into play in battle, comes up behind the scenes, and is a major progression check in the overworld of the game, making Sudowoodo quite deep for its one trick. In fact, it was so good that the fake tree concept was able to continue by giving Sudowoodo a baby form. And it's even better because it evolves through the move Mimic, which only highlights its mimicking of plant life. So that not only makes the gimmick a little more versatile than Mimikyu's, but also more widespread as well. Although, I guess to be fair, we should wait and see what Gen 9 brings Mimikyu as well. Number 3. Smeargle. So, here's the thing, I don't actually like Smeargle all that much, but I'm willing to set that aside and talk about the gimmick on its own merits. Smeargle is an artist Pokémon, so it uses the paint on its tail to express itself, which is good because I'm sure it suffers a lot of pain going through life looking like that. Sorry, force of habit. Anyway, you might expect some signature moves basically making it an Inkling from Splatoon, but it actually only gets one move in its entire arsenal. But it's not as bland as it sounds because Sketch is a hugely flexible move. See, the reason Smeargle learns Sketch multiple times throughout its life is because this move has you trace the last move an opposing Pokémon used, and unlike Mimic, permanently copies that move so that Smeargle has it until it chooses to forget. And you probably will want to forget some of them because early on you'll get stuck with things like Absorb or Quick Attack, having to wait for better attacks as you enter the mid-game. But let's be real, you're far less likely to use it in an actual playthrough. Sketch makes Smeargle a go-to in competitive as just about the only Pokémon that can combine any moveset that you can think of. They had to alter Dark Void specifically because of Smeargle. It was far too dominant, putting everything to sleep. So as much as I don't care for Smeargle, the fact that they used its creativity to copy any and all amazing moves that you can imagine makes it undisputed as a standout among Pokémon only made because of their gimmicks. Number 2. Shidinja. While not as competitively dominant, Shidinja is an intriguing, unique case that doesn't appear anywhere else in Pokémon. I don't just mean the typing, even though it probably wouldn't kill them to make more bug and ghost types, but Shidinja is the lone Pokémon to have the phenomenal ability Wonder Guard. As we know, this ability makes the Pokémon totally immune to any type except for those that would be super effective. That's pretty amazing, and was the envy of artificially generated Pokémon everywhere. But the reason that it remains on Shidinja to this day is because it was designed with that trick in mind, and therefore only given a single hit point. This expertly balances the Pokémon and prevents it from being too overpowered, although the bug typing does make it weak to Stealth Rocks, so that is an instant KO on switch-in, but other than that, I think it works out pretty well. If you don't know what's going on, it could take a while to take this thing down. Or maybe you'll just be lucky and take it out with some sand that you accidentally set up. But I hold it up so high because as much as it might be consumed by its gimmick, it does not force itself upon you. A separate part of this shell of a Pokémon is the method of capture, namely the fact that you can't. If you have extra space when evolving an Encada, it will just show up in your party. So that not only adds to its quirky nature, making Shidinja a favorite for edgy, one-of-a-kind trainers everywhere who are totally unique, just like everyone else. But in all seriousness, the fact that Shidinja is in no way forced upon you, but is really just a happy accident, makes it perfectly fine for me to have a wacky, out-there gimmick that is kind of hard to handle, but not critical because it's just a little extra fun. Basically, this is just the added-on Piranha Plant Fighter of Pokémon. Now, as a sort of quick honorable mention, I will bring up Aegislash. This Pokémon is great, and has a stupidly strong ability in Stance Change that lets it shift its stats between heavy offense and heavy defense. And as great as that is, I don't think it's crucial for Aegislash. I mean, even a weak Steel type is a highly defensive Pokémon, so if it were just all an attack as a sort of glass cannon, I don't think that Aegislash would have suffered because of it. And it isn't necessary for the Pokémon to exist, since it could have at least been a branched evolution or something, so this Pokémon can exist without that gimmick, unlike, number 1, Ditto. This one was mandatory, right? I'm still kind of surprised that a Pokemon with a concept like Ditto was thought up at the very beginning of Pokemon. But having a monster whose whole trick is becoming any other monster is not only genius, but very clever fun. It can be hard to catch them all, but if you have a Ditto, you can at the very least get the satisfaction of using certain Pokemon in battle when you face against them. So go ahead and try out Lance's Dragonite for yourself. Granted, Transform doesn't give you full power points, so you can't just sit around there forever, but having a Pokemon that's basically a mirror can ruin many strategies. Not that many Pokemon are prepared with tools to take out themselves. And I imagine some people will point to Zoroark, who has a similar gimmick, and sure, I won't take that away from you, but Ditto is the king because its single gimmick is actually twofold. As I said, Ditto was there from the very start, so it wasn't until Gen 2 rolled around that we learned that Ditto's shapeshifting antics also allowed it to be compatible with every Pokemon for breeding. Okay, not everyone, but every egg group outside of the restricted ones. This was part of what made breeding such a cornerstone in Pokemon in the first place. Sure, you could look for a high IV Ditto or something, but really it shines in creating multiples of rare species that you may be lacking, like, say, any starter ever, since you can only pick one of 3. So if you throw it in the daycare with a Ditto, you can have plenty more to trade to your friends to get all of the other starters you didn't pick. It also helps to get other rare Pokemon, like say all of the evolutions on one save file. Not that Ditto itself isn't hard to find sometimes, but it's always worth the effort to catch one. There's no better Pokemon to pair with your international trades for the Masuda method in shiny hunting. It's just so much easier than trying to find a Pokemon that happens to be compatible. So that's why Ditto is the master of the gimmick Pokemon, because its one use is actually a double use, which makes it indispensable whether you're deep in the VGC, hunting for shinies, or just wanting to fill out the decks. Not to mention, its meme potential is through the roof, and the fact that you can slap that face on anything to make it hysterical. Or there's the canon fact that Ditto can indeed turn into human copies as well, which has bizarre implications for just about every Pokemon game we've ever played. But basically, no matter how you like to enjoy Pokemon, Ditto is going to be a prize that you will want to look out for. So, those are the top 6 best gimmick Pokemon. There are, of course, many other stunt Pokemon out there, so let me know your favorites down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And until next time, stay grounded.